Thank you for joining the session today. Many industry leaders are here from different industries, and we are going to talk about how AI is turning into market advantage for many of the companies. I'm Shallu Sarvari. I head the Data and AI unit for North America at Nagarro, an AI transformation company which is focused on setting the right foundations and also scaling AI across enterprises. Today, we have gathered a very cool panel here across industries, like I said, and with very complex environments. I would like to introduce first Marcos Costa, General Manager, Digital Transformation, Yamaha Motors; Felipe Castillo, Chief Product Officer, Equifax; Rudy Colberg, VP Integrate Business Planning, Clorox; Dustin Johnson, Head of Digital Technology, UCB; Daniel Mikkelsen, VP and Gas Technology CTO, Southern Company. Thank you all for joining here, and thank you for giving your candid and generous learnings that we'll be gathering here. So first question, we'll start from the baseline. The usual question, what are the usual AI initiatives going on, and how do you put a business lens on top of it? Marcos.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me. Marcos Acosta, I lead digital transformation for Yamaha. I've been building digital businesses for 25 years, going through every single wave of technology transformation, e-commerce, mobile, cloud, now AI. At some point in that journey, companies need to go from pilot to real business value. And at Yamaha, we just did that very recently, where we deploy a new AI agent. It is on our website, not a pilot. It is in production, and it's interfacing with real consumers.
Amazing. Felipe.
So, hey everyone, I'm Felipe Castillo. I have been with Equifax for 17 years, actually. I know I look very young, but I've been. I actually started in Santiago, Chile, as a software engineer, and I've made my way through the US and different roles. And my journey from technology to the product role has been a very similar journey from what Equifax has been going through in the last 10 years, I would say, from a transformation perspective. The big change that we had to go through in the last, I think, 2017 to 2018, with a $3 billion transformation to move everything mainframe and around 100 different data assets and different acquisitions that we did through the years to the cloud, I think was perfectly timed to be pretty much completed at the time that the AI wave was starting up. But we have been working on AI for quite a while. In our business, the biggest challenge we had was how do we balance the advantage of AI with the regulatory obligations, and how do we make sure that we cannot rely on a black box to make credit decisions on very critical aspects in people's lives. So Equifax has been investing in, and there's a lot of patents that we have filed over the last 10 years around explainable AI. How do we create credit scores and decisioning technology that can be taking advantage of AI, but at the same time being explainable and compliant. And in the last couple of years, we actually, earlier this month, we launched Ignite AI Advisor, which was the natural conclusion or the projection from completing the transformation. We went from something like 10 products that we were able to launch in any regular year to 50 products that we launched last year. So we realized that there's only so many products that our sales teams can absorb and our customers can absorb. So we created a whole new customer experience in Ignite AI Advisor, where we are running the numbers on behalf of our customers, and we are, instead of just presenting everything that they could consider, we are very deliberately using AI to present recommendations on, this is what we're seeing in your data, this is how you compare to your peers, and these are the products that we think you should consider for your next step. So that's where we are right now.
Yeah. I'm sure there are many frictions in this process. We'll come to that in the next question. Rudy.
Yep. I'm Rudy Colberg. I lead integrated business planning for Clorox. For the last over 2 years, I've been leading our planning transformation across all of our pillars: people, process, data, and technology. And if you think about integrated business planning, for those of you that are not as familiar, for a legacy company like Clorox Consumer Goods, it is a critical capability because we're literally translating strategy into execution in that 24-month horizon, doing demand forecasting, supply planning, orchestrating execution in the market. And from an AI standpoint, we made a bold bet almost 4 years ago to pursue AI-enabled planning. So we've launched at scale across our entire US retail business a AI-enabled demand forecasting, analytics, and scenario planning solution. In addition to that, we've also are piloting several Gen AI capabilities linked to the AI forecasting platform, as well as piloting agents. Just got an update yesterday from the team that was really exciting on that. And it's an incredible change and an exciting time for a company like Clorox to be deploying these types of capabilities in the market. And certainly there's been plenty of challenges and frictions, but we've seen a lot of value from it.
Yeah, we will come to the value. We want to hear from you, Rudy, on the value most likely. Dustin.
Yes, hello everyone, Dustin Johnson. I've been with UCB for 6 years. We're a global biopharmaceutical company based out of Belgium. Our US headquarters is here in Smyrna. And as a company that is over 40 countries, a couple of years ago, we started with what is our AI strategy, what is our governance, and built capability for our employees, right, and education around what is AI, what does that mean. We've built an internal platform for our employees that can be like a catalog of what are the AI capabilities we have as a place to start, right? And it's vendor agnostic, so as we change the underlying technologies, the employee experience stays the same, and it's been really great to kind of get everyone to the same page when it comes to what is AI and what's it doing for UCB?
I'm sure. And vendor agnostic is a theme that we've been hearing, probably more on it. Daniel?
Hi, I'm Daniel Mikkelsen. I'm the Vice President of Technology for Southern Company Gas, and been with Southern Company for 23 years and been in this role for about 3. And the last 3 years, similar to Rudy, we've been focused on making sure that we have the right capital allocations to our investment portfolio that includes investment pillars around customer transformation, asset transformation, actually legacy technology transformation. And really this year, we've really elevated by probably about 5x our investment in AI capabilities in products. And we knew early on that data was the foundation for that. So my chief data officer partner is in the audience, and one of the keys to our success is that partnership between business and technology. So I'll give Mikkelsen a shout out, and just say, he had the vision early on to having an organization that was a real fusion organization that brings together both business and technology professionals. And so we've really continued to lever off of that because the AI tools are going to continue to change, but data quality and data fidelity is always going to help you have more quality products and make sure that we can do what we do, which is ensure the safety of the public.
Absolutely. Suddenly this year, there's a quick turnaround towards data quality and foundation because everybody now knows the production winnings are not happening without it. And cheers to all the data officers in this room because they are the hard workers, I'm sure, and the AI agents are sitting just on top of it. The second question related to the friction points, I'm sure there are many, but what are the different failures or friction points that doesn't make to the press releases or the successes of the world? Starting with Marcos.
Well, I think that the most difficult part of AI is now the technology, in my opinion. It's basically trying to deploy that within this organization that was built before AI. Right? So there are processes, there are workflows, there are skills gaps, right, that were created, designed pre-AI, and now we're coming in with this new technology, which works, but we're trying to fit that into the new organization. I have seen like 3 different areas that become not friction points, but priorities to make sure that the AI can be successful and that transformation can be successful. The first one is all the regulations, right, liabilities that you have to deal with when you try to drive automation. Yeah. That's one area. The second area is complexity in terms of connecting the system within their enterprise. I mean, we were talking about data, right? So if there is no data, there is no access to the data, then the AI is not doing the job, right? So there is complexity there. And the third one is how you measure, success, value for the business. And it is in those three areas where we've been working very hard for the past year and a half. Since the moment that we said, okay, we're gonna go after AI, and we kick off those tracks in parallel, the AI technology and how we're gonna get this done, but also how we need to change the organization to make sure that the implementation is successful.
Absolutely. And Philip, I'm sure with a lot of products being launched at this speed, you might have seen enormous amount of that.
Yeah, so for us, it's been interesting because the post-transformation dynamics and the agility that we gained kind of, it made us very eager to just launch many things, right? And we had like what I would call like innovation debt through the periods of transformation, that the non-tech, like the larger business transformation required to not only have this new and refreshed value proposition or innovation capabilities, it was how do we change the way we go to market? How do we enable our sales teams? How do we enable our like operations, analytical consultants, and everybody who interfaces with our customers to really take advantage of what we had built is not trivial, right? And that connects with what I would say is the second point, that when we came up with this idea of having Ignite AI Advisor as a kind of like an insights recommendation engine, a conversational experience, and something that was going to address like the main feedback we had received from our customers, which was they wanted for us to be more consultative. They wanted for us to have a perspective of what we would do if we were in their shoes, not just as an enabler of widgets and data assets and so on. It's easy to just think, okay, the tool is now going to take care of that. Like you're going to put a customer onboarded in that tool, and now they're going to think Equifax is consultative, and that's just not the way things work. Like the tool is just another dimension of the relationship, and it's definitely going to enable our customers and success managers and sales teams to have a more intimate relationship with our customers, but that is not just going to happen because of the tool. So I think that the larger realization of what I would call the business re-architecture that needs to happen around these AI capabilities is something that is going to take a while. I think we're seeing kind of the people opening their eyes to that, but it's going to take a while.
Yeah, internal upskilling most likely is the key. Rudy, I'm sure with all the demand forecasting and planning, there are some frictions. And how many iterations did you get to realize the value?
How many iterations of the product?
Yes. Sorry, that was a throw ball. I didn't plan that.
It took a few months. I think I would say probably 4 to 6 months. And we scaled the product very much in an agile approach, progress over perfection. We had a backlog of enhancements, but we had vetted the product that we were releasing by running it in parallel with the legacy process in all of the business units, getting the businesses to buy in before we scale, giving the thumbs up. The tool is going to be better than our legacy process. And it took a little while to really get embedded and get additional enhancements. And the most critical enhancements in the early stages were just to make it a little bit easier for users in the business to be able to interact with the tool. And I was very pleased that in the first year of scaling it, we achieved nearly 80% of the business case for the transformation for AI-enabled planning. So it has yielded a lot of value, but it took a lot of very user-centric focus. And the way I kind of describe it in hindsight is we built a Formula One car, but we also needed the right road to drive it, and we needed the right driver. Not everyone can drive a Formula One car. So we needed the upskilling and building the intuition and building the dexterity to be able to realize the full value. And we needed that right road to be able to realize the full benefit of the Formula One car.
Funny times. Accuracy is probably 60, 80, 90%, but the adoption is not. Now we are all solving most likely that problem. Dustin.
Yeah.
So any shared language thoughts there between business and technologists?
I think from a friction standpoint, two-part answer. One, humans are in the way, in that it's comfortable to do what you're already doing. It takes courage to try something that may not and probably won't work the first time, right? So the second part of that answer is, okay, there's all these opportunities, all these AI solutions we can do. How do we know which one double down on, to place the bet. That's really hard. And have the courage to pull it through to get to 4 months of iterations to get the outcome that you're looking for. Especially, we have a lot of vendors selling AI as a product, as in you buy it, we turn it on, it works. And a lot of us know that's not how it works. And so just educating on that when you turn it on, you're not going to get that value then. That's when you start, right? And that's the friction.
I'm sure. And iteration is the depth of it, but what about the breadth? Just holding on to that thought, how about how many prototypes or pilots you've seen recently?
How many death by 1,000 proof of concepts. Yes. Yeah.
I'm sure. Daniel.
Going back to how you can dilute the resources you have, right? Yeah. You got to learn, we came up with, across the entire company around the world, 16 use cases that if it doesn't fall in there, we're not doing it. Those use cases are kind of generic, so there's some negotiation going on there. But at least we have some focus we believe that this is what's best for our patients, what's best for our employees. So somewhat you can kind of align the organization to some common themes. Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah, so I would say one of our primary friction points is just legacy technology. So we have a large integrated system architecture that is a lot of custom-built apps from probably 2 decades ago. And we're trying to move to a platform-based architecture off of a couple of products. And so that takes a lot of time. And in the meantime, we've had people who are trying to innovate with the hundreds of different pilots on systems that don't have to wait for all that transformation. So now that we've got strategic investment pillars and programs together, one of the things that we're trying to do is prioritize based on value. And that's not easy because it's our culture is based on, hey, I've got an idea. Somebody said, yes, I'm going to go do this. And then Emeka asked me, when is it going to be done? And he usually gives me the date as to when it's going to be done. So, we've got to move away from that culture of, hey, we've got 95 projects we got to get done this year. Which one are going to get done the fastest? And think more in terms of value. And for us, that's around risk. It's around compliance. It's around, obviously, cost and also revenue, because we do think about profitability. We are a shareholder-owned company. And then the last is on really what we call stakeholder experience. We think about employee experience as being the accelerator for customer experience, right? So we do try to do probably 60% of our investment today is around those productivity gains and trying to tie what are the right investments and the right products to be investing in and doubling down on, right? That's a hard thing for our culture to really adopt.
Yeah, that's a great thought. Employee experience leading customer experience. I think that's the way companies are thinking, but the ones who will be able to provide greater employee experience most likely will succeed. That's a great headway into our next section, which is the core of the market advantage part. With all the good pilots and prototypes and productionized use cases, how do you see the value turning up? What is the market advantage if you've realized, or how do you see the KPIs that are being measured? Marcos.
Great question. It goes back to being able to measure the KPIs and the business case. We began with a question, right? So we started thinking how commerce was going to change in this new AI era. And we all know that people are going to ChatGPT to do some research, and they use a prompt basically saying what's the best motorcycle for beginners, right? So with that mindset, what we decided to do was to rebuild completely the commerce flow for Yamaha, that's Moderator.com, our website, where the agent has information about all our products. It has information about our dealer network. The consumer goes there and starts a conversation with the agent in terms of what's the best product for them. That's completely changing the way that typically we're used to have the consumers interact with our websites. There are no filters. There's no, scrolling, going deeper into the pages. There is a conversation that is happening right there. What we saw was that to get to a product or get to a lead, consumer product dealer or consumer product retail store, if there are some retailers in the audience, We reduced that from 20 minutes to under 2 minutes.
Wow.
That's a 10x, improvement right there to get to the right product and the right store, right, for that consumer. So we're measuring that. In addition to that, every time that there is a conversation, we learn more about the consumer. So that goes back to the data. It compounds. We know what people are looking for, the questions that they're asking, and the interaction with the brand changes. Because when you have a retail store, your first conversation with the consumer is either they're walking into the store, physical store, or they're calling CSR. Now on your portal, you have a way to have a conversation directly with that consumer. So it's early in the funnel as well.
Amazing. Customer experience is the first thing that will get revolutionized, especially with the agents probably ordering and figuring out a lot of stuff for customers more than the customers themselves. Do you see those feedbacks also coming, agents driving to the site?
I don't see agents, you mean or AI agents driving to the site? I don't see that yet. I see mostly consumers asking questions about products. There are questions that the agent on purpose by design, and I can get into that later, doesn't answer, but it feeds back to our product team, right? Consumers are coming here with this set of questions. You might want to consider these features for the next release, right? So we're learning all the time. I don't see any agents directly going to the site right now.
Right now, got it. Philip?
So for us, it's been, like I would say, like a pyramid of impact. So Equifax is a publicly traded company, so we have certain KPIs that are publicly reported. A key one for me, and the one that my CEO reminds me pretty much every time we talk, is called Vitality Index, which is what percentage of the revenue is coming from new products that were launched over the last 3 years. We had always been in the 3-4% for a long time. The long-term financial framework that Equifax had reported was aiming at having a 10%, and that's what my CEO reminded me every time we talked. So last year we made it to 11%, 11.3%, which is something like we're in our long-term plan, we were supposed to achieve that next year, in 2027. So a lot of the acceleration, the transformation, and the cultural dimension that came from transformation allowed us to accelerate that pace. And the way you see that is the number of, we build a lot of predictive models. So when a consumer is applying for credit, you probably have heard about Vantage Score or FICO, which are like the standard scores. They're going to tell you if you're above 650, 700, you're going to get approved with certain terms. The reality is that there's a lot of nuances there. There's a lot of precision of that score may not be specifically trained to detect likelihood of bankruptcy or credit abuse, first-party fraud, and other very particular niche solutions. So when you're building scores, you usually see like 1-2% improvement on the predictability of the event. We're now seeing 10-20% improvement thanks to AI. So that enabled that growth, and also the scale of being able to create more models that are more precisely trained for specific use cases. And then the other dimension, what is happening more recently, which I think we're getting early signals of benefits, but we have expectation these are more long-term bets. And it's around like this relationship with the customer. How do you create a more consultative relationship, more intimate relationship with your customers? And we're trying to identify what are the right KPIs to know that this is moving in the right direction. How do we know that customers are increasing traffic to Equifax versus our competitors? How do we know that the rate of adoption of new products is increasing with customers, that we have this relationship? We are starting to mine Gong and Salesforce and other interaction points that our customers have with our organization, and see is the depth and the nature of the relationship we have with them improving thanks to the insights and recommendations that we are able to produce. So that's going to take longer to translate into like direct revenue, but we're starting to see that there's definitely positive signs.
And how do you convince people on longer to translate into direct revenue?
100%.
Yeah. And who are deciding these formulas of, KPIs? How do the AI translate attribute to the direct implementation cycles? The formulas are fusion teams, technology and business, or one of them?
So that's a very important point. And I was listening to what you were saying. There's I would say, a tension between the reality of we need everybody in the organization to embrace AI and to open their eyes of how much better you can perform using AI. So there's definitely the positive on that, but there's a risk with that can become like an AI-oriented strategy, which is not like we are not an AI company. So our outcome is not how much AI are we using. Our outcome is about business results for our customers.
Rally.
So even though you want to create programs and incentives for people to use AI, and we get metrics every day on how many people are kind of using these tools and how often, the most important piece is we had a strategy and we still have a conviction of what we can do and what our customers are expecting us to do. So that is the strategy of AI as an enabler. So we cannot lose sight of the things we said we were going to do. So those KPIs have not changed, right? So those KPIs are not different because of AI. AI can help you maybe be more precise or get maybe signals in a faster frequency, so you can maybe take action at a faster pace. But it's very important not to lose sight of the business objectives you had from before. Like that should drive your AI strategy, not the other way around.
Understood. Perfect. Rudy, on the inventory or supply chain side.
Yeah. So that's exactly where we started. Like it was like, what was the business problem that we were trying to solve for? So we identified, and this is fairly straightforward, it was driving growth with greater agility. And what would be required like for that? We needed our planning teams to be able to build a better forecast that informed a better plan, that released time and provided better insights for our teams to be able to do what they can to adjust the trajectory like of the business. And from that, we designed the AI tools. So it was still anchored to the core KPIs of the business, service, revenue with customers, inventory availability, working capital, forecast accuracy. And we were relentless about measuring those. Like from the beginning, we had very clear goals that we had identified of what we wanted to achieve, we believed was realistic. And I think one of the things that was really insightful is that we gave a lot of visibility to people, like to those metrics. And you could almost have a real-time view into many of those metrics. Some of them were only weekly, some of them like were only monthly, but we wanted to make sure that people had the ability to adjust like course. And it took a lot of effort from our center of excellence that runs the overall IBP capability to refine the central dashboards. But it had to be with a business lens. And one of the things one of our initial pilots before it landed on the current AI-enabled tool that we have, we scrapped it completely because the challenge was the business couldn't use it well. It was too cumbersome, and particularly our leaders, our general managers couldn't use it like well. So we then developed a different tool with what we call the BU cockpit, which was geared toward leaders and their teams to be able to operate and run the business with better visibility into their plans.
Amazing. And you talked about dashboards. In these integrated dashboards, have you started to see a score that this was suggested by AI and this has risen up? Are there any additional metrics with the AI suggestions that are coming up on the dashboard side to just prove the value?
Say more.
On the dashboards, are there any proof of value for AI that this is what AI suggested, which was correct, and this is what?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. So one of the things that we measure is forecast value add. And that's very simple. Like what would our forecast have been if we simply used last year's like numbers? What was the forecast based on the AI engine? What was the final forecast that the BU landed on based on their judgments, based on all of the overlays? And you compare those three. And that was very powerful to show the business where we were adding value. And we could analyze that at different granularities so that we could isolate, not just at the macro level, but at very specific levels, where was either the ML, AI engine, or the human eroding value and limiting our business performance.
Sure. Dustin.
Yeah, so our products serve people with severe chronic and rare diseases, epilepsy, Parkinson's, and we're focused on how do we get patients back to their best life as soon as possible, right? Or even access to the medicines they need, right? And so one of the things in our industry we spend a lot of time on, if you can think about it, when we want to make a product to sell, it's 10 plus years until you can actually sell it. So there's a lot of cost involved, which then eventually passes on to the patient, right? So obviously in our industry right now is AI is how can we reduce the time for drug discovery and clinical trials, right? Because if you reduce the time, you reduce the cost, right? So that's obviously a huge focus for our industry, right? And then the other aspect, some of these rare diseases, can you imagine having a chronic disease that it takes 6 to 8 years to get diagnosed correctly, living with that disease until you just get diagnosed correctly, let alone relief from that. So we're using AI to help find and diagnose with healthcare providers. We're partnering with them to figure out how we can get that reduced. Even if you can reduce it by a year or two, that's a long time when you're with epilepsy or some of these rare diseases, right? So that's kind of where we're focused as an industry.
Are there any early signs that the timeline will reduce for the initiatives that you're running?
Yes, there are early signs.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Coming for the good quality benefits. Daniel.
Yeah, so at the gas company, we have traditional customer satisfaction measures that we look at, whether it's a JD Power survey or transactions from an individual call. We have goals around those. But really, the gas company is actually an emergency response company. So we have measures that we look at from our response times of when we get an emergency call to when we have a technician on site. And so we have other measures around protecting all the 77,000 miles of pipeline that we manage. So making sure that when excavators are out there, like watching for how can we protect damage, and then what that damage ratio is for different construction projects that are going on, or external folks, because you might have somebody that's there digging in a yard that's not part of the utility, right? And they may cause some damage. And so we have measures around all that. But when I think about like emerging tech, one of the things that our parent company, Southern, is looking at is more of the agentic capabilities. So we're thinking about things like atomic-based agents, like things like you think about like case management. So somebody calls in and they say they got a high bill call. Well, if you look at like somebody calling into the IT help desk or the HR help desk, that's really just case management.
Yeah.
And so we're investing in trying to come up with atomic agentic capabilities that we can orchestrate and take a hub and spoke approach where both the gas companies and our power companies can take advantage of enterprise level orchestration with atomic units that people can stitch together. So empowering like pro code, developers and data modeling scientists to really come up with solutions that continue to keep Southern Company ahead of the overall utility industry.
Sure. And the realization is longer in time, or it is 3 months to 6 months?
So we have our first use case with Georgia Power around like land management on that agentic capability is just now coming to fruition. And but there's a lot of other opportunities, like thinking about we all have contracts, and so if you have an agent that reads a contract, and then you have another agent that or Adam that kind of goes and looks at the calculations and the terms and conditions in that contract, and then somebody else that does the optimization, you stitch all that together. We think there's a lot of opportunity in terms of optimizing the value we're getting from our partners that we depend on, and do all that on behalf of our customers.
Sure. And there are any organizational changes to everybody to come up with Adams or the use cases?
Yeah, I mean, those are all new capabilities. I think we're thinking about how does that look different. But the good thing is on our side, we've got technology and business professionals already joined together in a dedicated organization to driving the data and AI transformation. But as these new skills come along, just like we talked about earlier, you've got to upskill some of those folks so they may have different roles than they had in the past.
Absolutely. And it's a great segue to our last theme of the session. What comes next what does next 6 to 9 months look like? And in this AI world, 9 months is long term rather than 3 years ago. So what comes for you, Marcos?
Yeah, so you're right. It's going like 10 times faster. So it's like probably 6 months. So I think that the companies that are going to win this are the companies that are going to be working on their data and the agentic layer, right? So they're going to have agents across the organization, right, doing actual work. I think that the AI, like LLMs, that's going to be the commodity. You should build this in such a way that you are, swapping, models as you see fit. But truly owning your data, that agentic layer doing work is where companies are going to move to very, very quickly. And that's going to add the value. I can tell you about like 4 areas where, no hype, like areas that are adding value that I'm aware of and I'm involved with. Number 1 is CSRs, AI working with AI agents, working with a customer service representative is proven value, is helping train the agents, is helping the organization as well. And I will build it first because it's the best place to test new agents. The CSRs, they know your brand, they know the customers, they know the business. So deploying agents there to see if the voice and tone is the right one, the liabilities, concerns can be addressed, and it's internal. So that's number 1. Number 2, my team is doing software development lifecycle with AI. Right? It's embedded. We completely changed the way we create software, and at different stages within that, cycle, we have certain AI agents helping the team achieve more. The human is there. We're not outsourcing to AI. We're just, augmenting the capabilities that we have. The third one that I want to mention is the commerce. I gave a really good example of how commerce, I think, is going to change and how AI agents are going to be part of that. And I think that's going to be expanded to different touch points, right, that the brand has. So this is just the beginning. And the last one is real-time insights. I moved already from real-time data, right? I remember the days where we used to say, I want real-time data. That's table stakes. We have a lot of dashboards. I look at a lot of dashboards. I get a lot of information from them. But on a regular basis, I have AI agents directly connected to that data. If I don't find what I need, I'm talking to the agent. Give me the insights, review the last 30 days, what are the trends that I'm missing? And the AI is, working with me and, sharing opinion in terms of the insights that are happening right now that, who knows, I might have missed them, right, if I didn't have that AI companion with me.
Yeah. Also on the AI and SDLC side, just to throw ball again, how much do you think you'll build as compared to last 9 months to this 9 months? 2x, 30% more, 50% more?
I think it's 30% more. So we're doing more than we used to do, of course. And that goes not only for software, but it goes also for design.
Sure.
Right? The design, the mock-ups, the variations of the design is faster as well.
Sure. Yeah. Philip, for you?
So we're predicting the future? Is that?
Yes,
Okay.
predicting the future.
So I think we're all consuming so much content right now. You can see influencers and experts saying the entire company is going to be run by agents and we are going to have anybody go home, get universal income, and the entire world is going to change. That's one hand. The other hand is that the economic model around the agents and the token economy and all of the VC funding is going to go out, and then the adoption of AI is going to be limited by just the economics of it all. So it's not going to be as transformative as the technology has the potential to have. I'm not going to try to predict. I think it's going to be somewhere in between. What I do know, what I am putting the efforts on, is that the way that we run our business is going to change, right? If we limit ourselves to just trying to do the same things a little bit faster, better, cheaper, we're going to be like someone who's reinventing the problem is going to disintermediate us. So we have to be more transformative, and that's the term I was using before. Like this business re-architecture is what I'm putting my efforts. Like wherever you land in the spectrum of these two maybe levels of prediction, what I know is that the essence of running a business, like the self-awareness of what is the value proposition that my company has, what is the uniqueness that we bring to the table, like what is the identity of the company, needs to be then reflected and augmented and maybe transformed in the way that you bring it to life. But there's a risk of just relying on, I'm going to delegate everything to this agent without putting the emphasis on what is it that I don't want to delegate? Like, what is it that I am, and what is it that my team is doing? What are the judgment calls that we want to maintain? How do we make bets and projections and everything that is going to define our success? Right? I think that the risk is to let go of that because you're just chasing the shiny object.
Business re-architecture involves a lot of breaking down of bureaucracy and a lot of multi-functions to come along together. You're thinking about certain ways to optimize on that?
Yes, if I get it my way, we're going through strategy playbook right now at the company, and we're a 127-year-old company.
Yeah.
So we just went through a massive transformation, which is something I do not take for granted. Like being a company that has that history and being able to reinvent itself, like it proved us that we can do it. So there's no reason to stop. I think right now, in my mind, what we actually have been saying a lot this week is if we were a startup, we would take these 10 people and we would say, okay, go do this thing, figure it out, and then come back and tell us how it worked. And that group of people needs to be, I think you mentioned it, technology and the business kind of coming together and solving, kind of being empowered to solve a problem with autonomy, right? And that's what some of this technology gives you. So you can't have just like the COE to business unit, kind of like big corporate level of relationships. That just slows you down. So you need to operate more at the pod level with autonomy to go solve real problems.
Sure, absolutely. Rudy, with already proven success with business value in your ecosystem, the 9 months next, what is scaling out, scaling up?
All of the above. But I would say that we've got two real priorities, and one is at the edge and one is at the core. And that's how I describe it. Like at the edge, certainly agentic. Like where can we leverage agentic? We're running pilots. Like where can that enable the business to do things better, different, more efficient, better results? But truly the core priority is the one that I believe is most important, both to generate more value from what we've got today and from the agentic capability. And that goes back to that the road and the driver of the F1 car. We need to embed better decision ownership in the business so that we're leveraging the insights like from AI and the outputs from AI, and then we can react faster to the number of recommendations that AI can provide us.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, we need to rethink how we operate and become, the way I describe it is like a decision and learning system. And I don't mean that as a technology system. It's like a decision and learning system that leverages the power of AI to deliver better business results. And we can't do that, like you're saying, like in isolation as just the IVP capability. We have to do it cross-functionally. We have to do it in integration with both the legacy, let's call it business side and the technology side. We have to get away from those labels.
Yeah.
Right? Again, it has to be like an integrated system.
Yeah. And any good ideas on the fusion teams, how to get them together, which has worked for you?
For us, putting them all under one umbrella, like really. And one thing that we did that was very successful was having each side learn each other's language. And we did boot camps, like where the technology teams learned about the business, like how the business, like what matters to the business, how they talk, like what are the key drivers, like what are they thinking about day to day, how do they make decisions, and conversely, the business side understanding how the technology teams operate, what it means, like why data maintenance is so critical, why data governance is critical, and that was incredibly invaluable.
That's really good.
Yeah. Somebody was pointing out the other day that they are asking their businesses to use Copilot as much as they can, maximize the usage, just so that they could learn how it works, so that it was Daniel as well. I think it was something that we also talked about. But yeah, that's, I think, something business elevation to technology and technology elevation to business is something. But Dustin, what are the bigger bets for you?
Yeah, two top of mind things separate. First, shout out to the state of Georgia. So we just announced we're breaking ground on our first manufacturing plant here in the US. Yep. Yep. It's a $5 billion economic value in Gwinnett County. So it's a big deal, yes. Right. Our headquarters is here in Cobb County, just so, since we're here. But so obviously it's going to be full of AI, ensuring consistency in process and how we manufacture living organisms as biologics, right? The second area, earlier I said about 1,000 deaths or deaths by 1,000 proof of concepts, right?
Yeah.
So we've organized around where we want to place our bet.
Yep.
And in the next 6 to 9 months, it's beginning that journey to better understand our customers being healthcare providers and patients, and how we can respond to their needs quicker and faster. And so that's what we're focused on.
Great.
Yeah.
Ground up plant with AI native capabilities. Would like to see the next 9 months for you. Daniel.
Yeah, so playing off of what Dustin just said there, like I think our 2027 annual planning will be more value-based. So that'll be one of the things that'll be a challenge for us, right? And I think that we'll see our fruition of our customer technology products and AI deliverables come out. But I think that one of the things that Southern Company will probably be looking at is being more of a builder. For the last probably 10 years, we've thought of ourselves as technology integrators. And we're, with all these new capabilities and changes, we're talking about things like building our own small language model. And I don't think a year ago that we would have thought about that. So I think that's the new opportunity, is not just assuming that, hey, I should go buy this product from this vendor and go implement it. It's a different world now with these new technologies and capabilities.
Amazing. From legacy transformation to SLMs, most likely, yes, in the regulatory world, such as yours, it becomes super important. More focus on risk avoidance as well?
Yes, 100%. I mean, that's probably the number one priority, is transitioning some of that investment from a value perspective. Like I was saying, 60% of it today is focused on employee experience, and optimizing that more from a risk perspective is something that our operations leaders want us to do.
Absolutely, great. So one quick rapid fire question in the last minute. What do you want our audience, leaders in the audience, to learn as a failure or something that you would have known at the start of your journey which really helped you? Something of a learning for everybody. One sentence, everyone. Marcos.
Build the foundation right now. That is data, governance, getting the organization ready. AI is here to stay. The market is going in that direction. We cannot change that. Just get ready.
Philip.
Yeah, just shorten the cycle between business and technology. Bring them as closer as you can, as we've said before. Like that to me is the big one.
Rudy.
I would say mindset and skill sets are critical to create value from the tool set.
Amazing. Dustin.
Have the courage to try something new.
Daniel.
It's not the business, it's business and technology. So 2 in a box.
Oh my God. So it's all people skill set. So it's all people for the next 9 months. That's great. Thank you so much for joining us for the session, and thank you to the generous answers for letting all our audience know what works best for you. And hopefully you've got something which is helpful for Monday morning coming up. Thank you so much, everyone, for the session.
Thank you. Thank you.